Life is full of choices, and the path we take determine where we end up. Some people seem to have every opportunity to succeed, yet they still fail, not because they are cursed, but because they refuse to change. Even in the Bible, there were people who had every chance to turn their lives around, but still chose the wrong path. Their stories are not just tales of failure, they are lessons for us today. They remind us that success is not just about opportunities, it's about what we do with them. Some people seem destined to fail, not because life has caused them, but because they refuse to embrace the opportunities that could change their lives. You may hand them a golden ticket, a chance to turn things around, yet they will still find a way to lose. It is frustrating to watch, especially when you see their potential. But the truth is, success is not about luck or opportunities alone. It is about mindset, discipline, and the willingness to take responsibility. There are those who get chances that others can only dream of. Financial support, guidance, second chances, yet they squander them. They choose immediate pleasure over lasting fulfillment. They trade a stable future for a fleeting thrill, choosing comfort in the present over sacrifice for tomorrow. It is heartbreaking because they are not incapable, they are simply unwilling to do what it takes, and no matter how much you want to help them, they will not change unless they choose to. King Saul was chosen by God to be the first king of Israel. He had everything: strength, power, and the guidance of the prophet Samuel. God gave him a clear instruction, victories in battle, and even a second chance when he failed. But despite all these opportunities, Saul kept making the same mistakes. His biggest downfall was his inability to fully obey God. When God told him to completely destroy the Amalekites, he kept some of their possessions, thinking he knew better. When confronted, instead of taking full responsibility, he made excuses. He cared more about what people thought of him rather than what God commanded. Even when Samuel tried to correct him, even when God showed him mercy, Saul kept walking the wrong path. His jealousy of David consumed him. His fear of losing his throne drove him to madness. In the end, he died by his own sword in battle, a tragic end for a man who had been chosen by God himself. The lesson from Saul's life is clear. Talent, opportunities, and even divine calling mean nothing if we refuse to obey, learn, and change. Saul had everything he needed to succeed, but his pride, fear, and disobedience led him to failure. Judas Iscariot walked with Christ for 3 years. He saw miracles with his own eyes. Christ healing the sick, raising the dead, and feeding thousands. He had personal access to the greatest teacher who ever lived. He was not just a follower, he was one of the 12 disciples chosen by Christ himself. Yet, despite all this, Judas had a weakness: his love for money. He was the group's treasurer, but he secretly stole from the funds. Instead of seeking help for his greed, he let it grow. When the opportunity came, he betrayed Christ for 30 pieces of silver, an amount so small it was barely worth anything. Even after betraying Christ, he had a chance to repent. Peter had also failed. He denied Christ 3 times, but Peter sought forgiveness and was restored. Judas, however, allowed guilt and shame to consume him. Instead of turning back, he gave up and ended his own life. Judas teaches us a painful lesson. Being close to Christ is not enough if our hearts are not truly transformed. He had every chance to change, but he chose the wrong path. His story is a warning that unchecked weaknesses can destroy us if we do not surrender them to God. Success requires vision, a long-term commitment to growth, and a willingness to endure discomfort. Many people fail because they do not plan for the future. They live day by day, spending recklessly, ignoring wise counsel, and refusing to take responsibility for their actions. It is easier to blame circumstances than to admit that change requires effort. But blaming the world never leads to success. Action does. The painful truth is, you cannot save someone who refuses to be saved. You can show them the door, but they must walk through it. You can give them money, but they must learn to manage it. You can offer them advice, but they must be willing to listen and apply it. The choice is always theirs, and some people will always choose the path of least resistance, even if it leads to suffering. But should we give up on them? Should we label them as lost causes? No, because people can change, but only when they are ready. Some will hit rock bottom and realize they need to climb out. Some will wake up one day and decide they are tired of losing. The most we can do is to be there, to guide them when they are finally willing to listen. It is not our job to carry them, only to show them the way when they are ready. We must also recognize that not everyone defines success the same way. Some people are content with less, even if we think they could do better. Maybe they are not looking for financial stability, but for something else: freedom, adventure, or simply a life without pressure. While we may not understand their choices, we must accept that their journey is their own. If you are someone who feels stuck in failure, know this: you are not destined to lose. No one is. Your past mistakes do not define you. Your bad habits can be changed. Your life can turn around the moment you decide to take responsibility for it. The first step is deciding that you are worthy of more. Saul and Judas were not destined to fail. they had choices. Their downfall were not because God abandoned them, but because they refused to change. But their failure also gives us hope. We still have time to make the right choices. Unlike Saul, we can humble ourselves and obey God. Unlike Judas, we can run to Christ instead of away from Him. No one is beyond redemption. Failure is not final unless we allow it to be. So if you feel like you've made too many mistakes, remember this: as long as you are alive, God is still giving you a chance. Choose wisely, and your story can end in victory, not in defeat. If you find yourself rejecting opportunities, avoiding responsibility, or making choices that keep you stuck, ask yourself why. Is it fear? Is it self-doubt? Is it a belief that you do not deserve success? Whatever it is, challenge it. Growth begins when you question the patterns that have kept you trapped. You have more power than you think. Success is not just for a select few. It is for those who are willing to work for it. No one is born to fail, but many choose to. The good news is choices can change. Your future is not set in stone. You can rewrite your story no matter where you are now. The only question is, will you? So to those who feel lost, remember this: there is always a way forward. Life does not decide your fate. You do. Stop waiting for a miracle and start becoming the person who deserves one. Because at the end of the day, failure is not a destiny, it is a decision, and so is success. Your past does not have to define your future. Unlike Saul, you can choose obedience. Unlike Judas, you can run to Christ instead of away from Him. Failure is not final unless you allow it to be. Choose wisely, and your story can end in victory, not defeat. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you.